What if I told you you chose this life? You chose your circumstances, your challenges, even your parent. What? I know it's hard to believe, trust me. But my goal is to help you remember something that you already know deep down inside. It's the fact that you're not just a human here struggling to survive. You're actually a spiritual being here on a mission. All right, let's dive in. So what I want to do is take a look at a few things to help illustrate what I'm talking about here. From a human perspective, when we go through challenges, okay, tough things happen to us, it's easy to fall into a victim mindset and to ask the question, why did this happen to me? Okay, it's fair and it's valid. It's easy to do. We're human, by the way. Okay, but consider from a spiritual perspective, we would, in those same circumstances, view it and ask the question, why would I choose this? Okay, which immediately catalyzes you to get into this mindset of finding a solution. Why would I choose this? What lesson is there to learn by going through this challenge, the struggle, this trauma? Okay, success. From a human perspective, we're taught what? You know, get money, baby. All right, money, titles, that kind of stuff. But from a spiritual perspective, no one comes here to just get money, to just gain status, okay? Because there's their own unique lessons and challenges built within that. From a spiritual perspective, success is simply aligning with your purpose. Now, a big part of that alignment is remembering what your purpose is, but again, that's why I'm starting this channel. I want to share information that empowers you and allows you to remember why you incarnated here on earth. Okay? Everyone that incarnated here on earth, they have a purpose, a mission, a reason to be here. Okay? And it's all unique, and we shouldn't judge anyone's purpose. I'm encouraging us to do, what I'm encouraging you to do is to try to look within, okay? When we all begin to look within and focusing on finding our own soul purpose, that helps everything else align. Now again, from a human perspective, we're born into a family, we've got no say-so in the matter, and therefore victims of our circumstance. Okay, that trauma tends to stick with us throughout our whole lives in a lot of cases. But from a spiritual perspective, we choose our parents. We choose our immediate family that we incarnate into to give us our unique perspective on life. So that by the time we go through this, we have learned lessons in specific areas that then make us the teacher, allow us to become the teacher. We go from student to teacher. Okay, and that's one of the main goals and purposes. So in order to look at this from a spiritual perspective, what I want to encourage you to do is to examine your life in 7-year chunks, beginning from, the ages of being born up to being 7 years old, and then 8 to 14, 15 to 21, and so forth. Okay, look at your life in those 7-year chunks and identify the patterns. I guarantee you're going to find patterns within those 7-year chunks. Once you recognize certain patterns, then start to examine what your response has been to those patterns. You're going to find another pattern there, most likely. If it's continued, if the same negative pattern has continued, your same response will have likely continued, and then a similar outcome is going to happen. Now, in doing this work, and by simply recognizing these negative patterns, you're actually doing half the work right there. Like G.I. Joe, half the battle, baby. You're done, all right? Now, though, you've got to change your response. If you want a different outcome, you've simply got to change your response and try to view these patterns from a spiritual perspective, taking ownership over your circumstances, not being a victim. This is going to be key in shaping what your response is, which is then going to play a massive role in shaping what the outcome is. Okay? Try to do that. I encourage you. Right now, consider one circumstance in your life that's challenging and just play around with the idea that you actually chose it and see how it changes the way you view it and approach a solution to it. Okay? Now, one of my biggest lessons around this is the fact that when I was 20 years old, my dad called me. He wanted to go play some golf, and he asked me to come pick him up. And of course, I remember it vividly. The fact that I told him that, it would be a lot more convenient if you just met me there. I had this really important meetup with my girlfriend afterwards that I just, I didn't want to take the additional 20 minutes it would have taken to give my dad a ride. So he met me to play golf, and on his way home, he got into a single car accident and he bruised his spinal cord. My dad was paralyzed from the neck down, and he survived for 9 months before passing away. And I carried that trauma for a long time. Okay. It really wasn't until the last few years where I was able to begin to look at my life through this spiritual lens and begin to consider why I chose certain things, why I would have chosen my parents, okay, who divorced when I was young, who was addicted to drugs, and who allowed me to then grow up with a fear of abandonment, always feeling like I wasn't enough. All right. Now, I've shared with you what happened with my father, and that was the biggest trauma that I carried, the responsibility, feeling responsible for having chosen not to give him a ride, being responsible for his accident, and then his subsequent death. Now, I still miss my dad dearly, especially when times get tough. But now I know why. Now I see what he did as a major sacrifice that he made in order to provide me the catalyst that I needed to be the father that I am today. I've got 5 kids. I didn't grow up wanting to be a dad, wanting to have this many kids, but that's what happened, and I'm extremely present as a father. Okay, because I learned through my dad's circumstance that in the end, love is what matters, baby. Love is what matters. It doesn't matter. Nothing else matters. None of what, at least with your parents, love is what matters, baby, in the end. So again, what I'm going to encourage you to do is to consider one difficult part in your life from a perspective that you chose it. And please share in the comments below what that is, what that looks like, and how it maybe has helped you to view it from that perspective. If it is more challenging, share that thought as well. I'm really genuinely curious to know. Okay. Also, please comment below any topics that you would like to dive into with me. On this platform, I want to both share my own knowledge and wisdom and experiences with you guys, but I know that there's so many lessons to learn from everyone. So I'm going to encourage a lot of engagement here because I'm curious to still continue to learn and grow and remember myself. Okay. Till next time. Love you all. Peace out.